Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 66. Execute Order 66. It's Thursday, so we've got GMF0123 Art on with us, and, yeah, let's get into it. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Not bad. Had a little incident last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you know I don't have a gallbladder, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm supposed to eat like applesauce and fucking bland shit.
Okay.
You know, because I have no control over the bile
Right.
or whatever. I wanted ice cream yesterday.
Oh, well.
So I had some.
Yeah.
Right?
You got the craving. You got to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to just, give in to the beast.
Right.
And I passed some gas.
Oh, no.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
It must have been, though.
My partner almost puked. I shit you not, gagging. Had to leave the room.
Really?
Yeah. It was the funniest thing.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well,
And she's mad.
right. Well, yeah. You just, napalmed her
Yeah,
out
I
of the
gave
room.
her the old Hiroshima.
Yeah, exactly. You Oppenheimered her.
Yeah, pretty much. It was the funny. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, I bet. Nice.
I don't know. So
Nice.
now she doesn't want me to eat ice cream, or at least when she's not around
sure,
or whatever.
I would imagine that to be the case. Yeah.
I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, no. Nor should you.
What's going on with you?
Oh, not much. We had a couple weeks ago, we lost a legend here.
I know, yeah.
One Mr. Paul Reubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. Which,
And he didn't even, no one even knew he was sick.
No,
which,
that was again, this is a childhood idol, right? This one hurt. This one meant a lot as far as...
So we did lose one of the greats.
Yeah. I mean, I watched all of Pee Wee's Playhouse and the Pee Wee movies. You know what I mean? And this,
Large Marge.
Absolutely. That was a character that meant a lot growing up, and I've always had an affinity for Pee Wee Herman, and even in the other movies that he's been in, I thought he's done a great job in everything he was in. Whatever. Issues aside from what happened at the movie theater at that one time, whatever.
I wanted to bring that up.
Sure.
Right? So, Paul Reubens, I was introduced to him, Pee Wee, right?
Right.
And then, obviously, he took some kind of bizarre roles that he was great in.
Right.
Right? And just, kind of just an odd, offbeat sort of character, right? And, in the time, so for those of you who don't know, he was in a adult theater and he was jacking off.
Yep.
That's it. Just
That's all.
In the back, nothing.
No
sexual assault or anything like that.
Nobody was there with him.
No, he's by himself.
Right. He wasn't bothering anyone.
And just now, it's fast forward to 2023, right? That's nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? How can you're going to ruin a man's career over that?
Right. And thankfully it didn't. Thankfully
he was able to. He had enough talent where he could bounce back.
And the thing is, he wasn't one of these who, tried to pretend it didn't happen.
No.
He came out, he made fun of himself, he owned it, and he got his career back online. People were like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. Let's whatever. And, he went on and continued to entertain us for many more years. And, again, it's to me, a very big loss. I mean, I know he hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. I know there was a Pee Wee Herman movie that came out, a couple years ago from Netflix.
His thing, he kind of transitioned to just, in a way, sort of these just offbeat cameos and things like that, right? He was in Sunny in Philadelphia. He played, the inbred prince, and he was, in Gotham, he played the Penguin's father. Just really weird, offbeat. So
that's
he was
all.
in What We Do in the Shadows. He was a vampire.
Yeah.
And that to me was perfect for him because Pee Wee was never gonna keep going. You know what I mean?
No, I mean you get to a point where your age is gonna outgrow having to be that particular character. But, I think that it ended up being where he was able to keep that character until he died. I mean, he never did actually outgrow it at the end of the day.
And he was a party animal.
Yes, he sure was.
So,
and you know what was amazing to me is when he passed, all the celebrities that came out and told stories of him, and I had no idea. Like, I knew that he was good friends with Elvira, right? That one was well known. But then you find out, like, he used to be roommates with the Hoff.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, that, like, whoa, where did that come from?
Tinseltown is small.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's just, I don't know. So after he passed, you start doing some reading, and you hear about some of these wild stories. Like, and it's just like, oh, he was a cool dude.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like, he was a nerd.
Right.
But he was the coolest fucking nerd around
and
town.
Then, like, and, every person that came forward said, hey, I just met him on the set of X.
Yeah.
And he was the nicest guy. And we stayed friends from that point forward. Like, we didn't know each other. We met on the set of this, whatever show it was. And he is such a genuine, nice guy. Well, we became such close friends.
He's small enough where he can still be a human.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Tom Cruise is an alien.
Right.
But, like, someone like Paul Reubens he's famous, but he could still have friendships with, like, regular people.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, like we just said, he wasn't in, a bunch of things. He wasn't an A-list movie star.
No, Pee-wee was his claim to fame.
Exactly. And so he could be in things.
And it was great when he showed up and shit. It was great. He was in Mystery Men back in the day.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
Love it.
He was a terrific actor.
Yeah, he really was.
And you know what? It sucks. That's a big loss.
Yeah, I mean, a terrific actor, and from the sounds of it, an even better person.
Which is rare.
Right, absolutely.
So, speaking of terrific actors and better people, I picked up a new subscription.
Oh, okay.
I got Screambox.
Oh, nice.
I like my horror.
Absolutely.
And the reason I picked it up is, one, it's crazy cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
$26 for the year.
Wow. Now, see, that's a bargain right there.
Right. That's what you want.
Right.
And I love horror documentaries.
Yeah.
That's my bread and butter. I love,
they're great.
History of horror, all of that sort of stuff. And they just released a new documentary on one Robert Englund.
Oh, Freddy Krueger himself.
And I had no idea the impact that this guy had on the industry.
Really?
He tried out for Han Solo.
Yes, I did hear that.
Stole the script and gave it to Mark Hamill. What? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's responsible for Luke Skywalker.
You know what? I just read that about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, right after Indiana Jones 5 came out.
Yeah.
That story came out for whatever reason.
Well, it was in the documentary.
Yeah, and that's probably why. Maybe the documentary dropped around the same time, and that story came out. I'm like, what? Just like we were just talking about Pee-wee and not knowing, all the people that he was associated. Same thing. It's like, what? We're just finding that out now? Like, where did that come from?
What a monumental moment.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's just like I had to pause the documentary and actually like absorb that information.
Yeah, he said,
he was like,
hey, I know the perfect person for this, and gives it to Mark Hamill to audition.
He stole the script.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, Freddy Krueger is responsible for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Who would have? You can't make that shit up in Hollywood.
No, it's incredible.
The writers can't write that well.
No, well, they're not writing at all.
Right.
But just the way that people kind of talk about him, right? The way he comes across is just such a kind person who loves what he's doing,
right?
Loves his fans, like just a genuine good dude.
Yeah. Well, that's another one, right? I mean, the movie comes out, you don't know what to make of it, right? I mean, again, it was an original movie, right? No one knows how it was going to fare.
Like he was a pretty well established character actor. Like in the 70s and the 80s.
Right, but
Well, the 80s.
But when that came out, being a child or teenager or what have you at the time, right? You didn't know that. You had no idea who this was. You never heard about this person before.
No, it's the equivalent of Terrifier.
Right. So it comes out, you watch it, you have no idea going into it what it's going to be. And then all of a sudden, the cultural impact that movie had at the time, and then, all the sequels that came out after it, and he became iconic. He just became an iconic character, and the thing is that he himself was always somebody that was much loved within that horror community.
Now, what's really funny about it, though, is that before the Freddy role, he was in that TV show V.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like he did that as his first sci-fi role, right?
Yeah.
But everything else was like, he was like a drama guy, like greasy drug dealer, things like that. He killed Burt Reynolds, and then he's like, well, I'll take this role, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just horror, and he stuck with it.
Except for The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay, which he was awesome in that movie, too.
There's a couple of weird ones here and there. But, he basically he's one of those, you have him, you have Kane Hodder.
Yeah.
Hodder. Like Nick Castle to a lesser extent, The Shape.
Sure.
But just to... he says in the documentary, he's like, I decided to kind of tie my raft to the horror genre, and that's worked out for me.
Right, but, that's the thing, even the original actor who played Michael Myers, and I can't think of his name off the top of my... Oh, yes, that's right. They all, they all understood what the fans meant to them and their success as that character. And they never forgot that. And that's why, still to this day, they're going to these horror conventions and are so popular because the community loves them so much. They've embraced them as, the iconic characters that they deserve to be.
I mean, Tony Todd's another huge one.
Absolutely.
But what I think is interesting is that, a lot of people want to get into the business because it's high profit, things like that, fame, and all that bullshit. Right. This guy loves what he's doing.
Right.
Right? So, and that comes across.
It does. It absolutely does.
It really does. So, like, it's not a chore for him to go to conventions. He loves it.
No, they do love it. Just like Elvira, absolutely has embraced that character and will embrace it till the day she dies. And she
very
goes,
Pee Wee Herman-esque.
Right, she goes to the conventions and absolutely loves being who she is. She doesn't feel pigeonholed. It's just, and now we're getting, Art the Clown is that same trajectory, right? He's going on these cons now all the time.
Right, and eventually we're going to get Terrifier 3.
Right.
I think it's going to get pushed because of the strike, but
But I mean, these actors who are portraying these what have become iconic slashers, they understood, what the game is, right? They understood where they stand in the pantheon of the horror genre.
Sure, except, I would say Art to a lesser extent at this point.
Sure, at this point, but he's getting there.
But you could say Freddy Krueger to anyone.
Right.
And they know who he is.
Right.
Like that to me is like, his name is as big as anybody in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, if you say,
Robert Englund, you're never going to...
But you say Mike Myers, or you say Jason, or you say Leatherface, everybody knows who you're talking about. That impact has been felt for, 30, 40 years? I mean,
it's incredible.
Just amazing, the longevity and how these characters have grown in status, because again, they're not making these movies right now for the most part. You know what I mean? And so
things have kind of stopped.
Yeah. So, but you're getting the younger generation to go back and watch these movies and understand the cultural impact that they had, and they're embracing them too. And even though it's not their generation, they get why they're so important.
It's a little peek into, it's like time traveling.
Sure.
It's a little peek into the window of what, a stylized suburban life in the 80s was.
Right, exactly.
and to hear that he's just a great person is just so refreshing. It's such a nice change of pace.
It is.
You know?
It is.
Like, now that everything is on strike in full force and everything, there seems to be a lot less negativity.
Right.
You know? I mean, obviously the ruling evil billionaires are doing evil billionaire shit. But I'm saying, like, it just doesn't seem like there's so much culture war right now.
Right. I mean, and to hear him talk, and then, you hear the younger generation, and I'm going to go to Rachael Zegler, the
Snow White.
Yeah. Where she was on the picket line and said, hey, if I have to stand in for 18 hours in an iconic princess dress, then I should get paid for every hour that movie's on streaming. And I'm like, you are so out of touch with reality. Are you serious? You got paid up front, and if this thing bombs like we all believe it's going to, oh, woe is you. You had to stand in an iconic princess dress?
I wanted to revisit the Snow White conversation because she made a comment about how, like, her whole press circuit before the strike, obviously, she would make these comments almost belittling the original. Right. Well, we made Snow White, but it's Snow White for the modern times.
Right.
But taking race and everything off the table, right? Snow White is such an important piece of historical media.
Absolutely.
Walt Disney risked his reputation. He created a special camera to make this film.
Right.
So I get it. You want to tell your own version, your own story. But you can't say, like, oh, I have Photoshop, so the Mona Lisa is a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, it's not just the movie itself. It's everything. It's the risk that Disney took. It's the cultural impact it had. It's, the technology that was created as a result of it.
Right. Realistically, Disney should, if they were smart, because the backlash has been enormous.
Well, they're in a good spot right now.
Right.
They're filling their coffers back up.
Right. What they should do, I mean, me personally, I think they should cancel the project because the vitriol is just going to be enormous. But if you're committed to going through with it, then just say this is not the original. This is a modernized version of that. This isn't us redoing Snow White. It's not really Snow White. It's like a multiverse Snow White.
See, but the problem is, I don't even mind if you want to modernize all the old school Disney stuff. I just don't like when you shit on the originals. And every interview that she's given, it almost comes across that she now detests the original.
But this is what they're doing on all of them. It's the same story being told over and over. You're not telling now an original story. This story has been told multiple times by the reimagining of Disney.
Right, but I guess my point to it all is that, I would look at these things with a much warmer lens if you could at least appreciate, why Snow White is so important culturally.
Right.
It's not, oh, she's Latinx, so it's wrong. It's like, no, Snow White, the old school Snow White, is one of the most important animated films of all time because of what it did. It built Disney.
Right. And if you want to tell a modernized story, and
they used to do shit like that in the 90s. It was on like ABC Family and shit.
And it's fine. Look, tell your modernized story, and whatever happens, right?
Right. Stop blaming the fans.
Right. It fails or it succeeds. You've told a new story, and that's fine. But you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and that should be the first thing that you say is, we're just going to do our best to make one of the greatest animated movies ever and make our version of it, and hopefully you'll like it as much. But we understand how important the original one is. And if you did that, maybe you'd get some good faith going into it. Maybe families would give it a chance. But when you come out and you're just shitting on everything to do with the original.
But it's like, it's such a vicious cycle because you're shitting on the original properties in pre-production. Mm-hmm. And then when it tanks, you're shitting on the audience after it's all done.
Right. But the audience has already told you they're uninterested in what your version is and the way that it
Audiences
looks.
vote with their watch.
Right. And so you already know that this isn't something that anybody's looking forward to. Now, you had the same thing with The Little Mermaid, and what happened. Okay, I think this is going to do worse than that because I just think that
it's even more bastardized.
It's more bastardized. It's more agenda driven, and I think that you have a longer time for it to come out now because of the strike, and I think that more and more people that just the anger towards it is going to grow and grow and grow, and then by the time it comes out, you're just going to have a massive failure on your hands. And, again, who do you have to blame but yourselves when you were told don't do it again?
Right. I think what's kind of incredible about the last, 5 years of Disney's run is that a lot of their female heroines or heroes, I don't know if the heroine is even a thing anymore, display traits of toxic masculinity.
Sure. Absolutely they do.
Like what?
Right.
We should be moving away from that.
Absolutely. I mean, again, that's what you're rallying against, and yet you're displaying majority of those traits.
So during, and I know we've been hypercritical of Disney and everything. The earnings call happened today.
Yep.
And obviously it's not good.
No.
They're still in the black, apparently, according to this earnings call, right?
Yeah.
But they missed their mark by $180 million for the quarter. And they have the audacity to raise prices on their streaming services by 20%. We've been releasing terrible films. Our stock price went now it rose today because they made their numbers, right?
Kinda,
sort of, right? I know, but enough.
Yeah. Now you got to take into consideration though that some of the thing like Indiana Jones was not a part of this, or Secret Invasion was not a part of this.
Every question was carefully screened before it was asked,
right?
And the thing of it is, right? If you want to pretend like the ship's not on fire, okay. But don't sell me a more expensive ticket.
Well, but the philosophy behind it is, well, we're losing subscribers, so what we've got to do is make up for it with the subscribers we have. So if we jack up the price to the people that we have, that's going to make up for the subscribers that we didn't actually get.
Right, I get it.
The stupidest philosophy you could possibly have.
But the problem with that mentality is that now Netflix is $20. Now Hulu's going to be $20.
Right.
HBO is $12 or $13 a month, or whatever it's called now, max. Paramount's 10, 12. Yeah. You're back to cable.
Right. Exactly.
It's just cable without commercials.
Yeah. Yeah. It took only a few years for that cutting the cord thing to become as expensive as the thing you rebelled against.
And the thing is that, back when Netflix was the game in town and then Prime came out and that was the healthy competition, shit was awesome.
Right.
It was great. They were releasing really good content. They could, the people were tuning into stuff.
Yeah.
But now it just seems like everything has been so corporatized.
Yeah.
You know,
and
that
then
the creativity of it all is just, it's not even in the back seat now. It's in the fucking trunk.
Right. But then the problem too is, you know, you're talking about raising prices, but then you're also talking about, you know, really reducing quantity of programming. So it's like, oh, we're getting less for a more expensive per month. Great. That sounds like a brilliant idea.
They're pulling back on merchandise for Star Wars and Marvel.
Which they should.
Yeah, not by a ton, by about 4%.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty smart because, you know, you go to a Walmart and the shelves are full.
Let me tell you, you know, there's a show on YouTube called World Class Bullshitters, right? Very good YouTube show. Does a run, right, where he goes to toy stores and looks at all the clearance section. Like, there is shit like in this store Ollie's, right, which is kind of like a...
Yeah, you had mentioned that, right. I think, when Black Panther came out, right?
This shit is all Eternals, Black Panther, all of the stuff for Marvel from Phase 4, 5, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, which they didn't really make any toys on, is all sitting there. And it's marked down and nobody wants it. Like, it's basically $3-4. No one wants it because you oversaturated the market with toys of characters that no one wanted, with movies that didn't do extremely well. So yeah, you have to reduce your toys output by quite a bit.
Right, and I think it's smart to cut down on programming. You know, I think if it, you know, it could be that they're just trying to cut everything so that they can get picked up by Apple and not get shut down for doing it.
Well, you know, I've been reading a lot about that recently.
Now, they sold ESPN.
No, not yet.
Or they sold the rights to it or whatever.
No, they're trying. They did a betting thing.
Oh, is that what it is?
They're trying, though, to get a partner for ESPN, though, to share in the cost of ESPN, so a co-owner of the network. But what they would need to do, and I've read this a lot from various amount of sites, is the only way that they could get a deal to go through with Apple is they would have to start selling off some of the things that they own. They would never be able to buy it in totality the way it is.
It would just make Apple, like, it would be too big.
Right. So things like ESPN and ABC and Freeform and FX, things like that would need to be sold off first.
Yeah, they're on the chopping block as is.
And they're available. They are available. I don't care what Iger says. I don't believe a word that comes out of that asshole's mouth. They are available, and if the right party comes along to purchase, they will be sold, and they will make themselves available to Apple.
We'll see what happens with this quarter, but basically,
like I said, you know, Indiana Jones, Haunted Mansion, Secret Invasion, that's coming up in the next quarter. So you've got a lot of big misses coming up in that next quarter.
The thing about Secret Invasion that kind of blows my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And this seems to be a trend with the movies and shows that they're making, is that all of these heroes are just emasculated and bitter old men.
Right, that's all they are. Like and the females are there to save the day.
Not even that. Not take that out of it, right? These characters, Willow, Indiana Jones, Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. Like, Nick Fury in Secret Invasion was a bummer.
Yeah, he was just a broken down old man that just couldn't get anything done right. That's it.
Just wild.
Yeah.
Like, who was that for? Like,
it was for nobody.
Because here's the thing. The thought process has to be, right? Okay, I watched Iron Man in the movie theaters. I've grown up with Marvel. Mm-hmm. It's been 20 years. You know, this has been a huge part of my life. If the shit that you're making now is not for me as a fan.
Right.
Because it's
not for most fans.
If it was, it would still be honoring that last 20 years.
Right.
Instead of throwing shit out of the window.
Right. Now, the best thing that happened is all the failures. Because if Marvel was still succeeding, then Kevin Feige would believe his vision was good, and it would continue.
Well, here's the thing.
He has to look at it now and say, I've got to make adjustments.
The thing of it is, right, is that I try to be very open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
And if Marvel was succeeding to even a level, even if it was less than pre-Endgame,
mm-hmm.
I would just shut my mouth.
Sure,
because you know what?
We all would.
If the populace likes it, even
mm-hmm.
if I don't, okay, you still have the formula.
Right, absolutely.
But no one likes this shit.
No, and that's why Secret Invasion's final episode has a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's that bad. What's
insane to me is just the optics of Disney as a whole right now. They're talking about they're really focusing on bringing AI into the picture.
Yeah, which that's one of the biggest things on the bargaining table with the writers. They're trying to block that from happening. They do not want to allow AI to write scripts because then they know that a lot of them would be out of jobs. So they're trying to block that, making it a mandate that you cannot use the AI technology to write scripts. And that's going to be a hard bargain. That's because that's the way everybody believes that we're trending. So if we try to take that away and stop it, I don't know.
AI should be used for the shitty stuff.
Right.
Business stuff we don't want to do.
Right.
And instead, you develop it to do the, art.
Right.
Like what?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be done on some business things.
Now, that being said,
but that's it.
And I've said this to you, I think AI used correctly can have potential. It is a tool in your toolbox.
Right. It's a tool that if you use it correctly, it's an enhancement.
Right.
It's not supposed to be the thing that takes over and does the work.
No. Like for example, if I create an image
mm-hmm.
and I want to, it's a little rough or I want to change the style.
Sure.
If AI can do that, it's still the image that I created.
Right. Exactly.
But just typing in a prompt and having it spit an image at you.
Right. But I mean, if you just type in something and they're going to write you your season of a Marvel show.
Right.
And you just have a couple of writers there just to make sure that all the continuity works and everything makes sense. You could be limiting 5-6 writers in the room that no longer have work.
The only thing that AI should be doing in that regard is checking for plot holes and spelling.
Sure.
That's
exactly.
it.
That's about it. Right.
Humans should be writing the plots,
right,
writing the scripts. You plug it into the AI and say, hey, is there any spelling issues in the script? Are there any plot holes? Is there any continuity errors? That's it. And it can do that, and that is using it as a tool.
Right.
But what Disney's trying to do is not use it as a tool.
No, use it as
the toolbox.
Right. Exactly. You are going to work for the AI, not the AI working for you. You work for the AI. And that's one of the biggest problems that the writers have that they're striking about is that they're trying to block that from happening. And I agree with them. They should block that from happening.
But I just, I hear a lot of artists and writers and people in the industry,
mm-hmm.
Talk very negatively about AI.
Right.
And I, to an extent, agree.
Sure.
But I think the real conversation has to be, it's not evil. It should be used as a tool.
Right. Exactly.
We should be excited about this because it's a new tool for us to use. Like, that's really exciting. But, you're not an artist if you Google something and the computer spits an image out or writes a script and then you give it to people. Yeah. That doesn't make you an artist.
No, especially since what they're doing is cobbling together pieces from other actual artists and then putting together your Frankenstein to make you a pretty picture. But all you're doing, so you're not an artist, A, and you're stealing, B. I mean, you are stealing, and that's why they will not allow copywriting for anything. So if you do an AI comic book, let's say, you can't get it copywritten because again, those images are borrowed from other people. They are stolen images. So you can make your comic book and you can put it out, but you cannot copyright it. So if it gets taken from you, oh well.
The thing is, though, right? Even as it's gotten kind of, pretty good, you can look at the image and still tell.
Of course you can. Of course, it's over rendered, it's over detailed. You can absolutely tell that didn't come from somebody, because you'd be sitting down for days upon days upon days to get it to look that perfect. And you just know that, the greatest thing about art is, yes, there's imperfections, but those imperfections at times make it so great. When it is so clean and perfect, it's not art anymore. It's just a photograph. Right.
Well, there's something lost in kind of giving over the creative process to a machine.
Right. Absolutely, there is.
I'm fully for AI as a tool.
Sure. As an enhancement feature, sure.
I'm okay with that. If an artist wants to draw something and then use the AI to polish it, or change a style or something like that, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I totally am.
Sure.
But just generating images is, I'm not down with that at all. Or scripts or videos or any of that shit.
No.
That to me seems fundamentally wrong.
Right. Now, staying on that topic or that idea.
Sure.
We got the writer's strike.
Right.
We know eventually they're going to come to the table and this will be resolved at some point.
I mean, where next year's going to suck.
Right. So let me ask you this scenario. I'm going to give you a what-if scenario.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, fire one at me.
Okay. So we get back to creating shows.
Okay.
We're both creatives. We both work in the creative field. You have an opportunity, okay? Your opportunity is you can work on The Witcher, which is your thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But you have to do it the way that it's currently constituted, meaning all your art or your ideas are all going to be about Ciri. It's all going to be about the mages. It's all going to be about Yennefer. And really, you can't do anything with Geralt.
No, I'm all set.
Or you can work on Dungeons and Dragons and do it 100% how you want.
D&D. That's not even a hard question.
Right. Well,
and Witcher is my
But that's
shit.
what I'm saying, right? So you would bypass to work on your dream thing.
Yeah.
To work on something that you don't care about as much because of the creative freedom that you would be given, as opposed to having to do it the bastardized way.
I don't like what they've done with Witcher. I don't.
No.
I wouldn't want to,
or any,
or Star Wars,
right.
or any of that. I wouldn't want to contribute to that narrative.
No, and see, I agree with you, and that's why I asked, because I would give up the same thing. Star Wars is my thing, superheroes. I would give up working for those type of companies if I had to, make Luke the cuck that he's turned into, and I had to keep on reinforcing that. Or I could work on something like, House of Dragons, which I don't care about in the least. But if you're telling me that I can do it, to the books, and I can do it exactly to the lore, I would much rather work on that. I would have much more of a fun time, right? And that would be a part of it, right? I would have the creative freedom and the creative enjoyment to create something that I think that the people that enjoy that property would actually love, as opposed to contributing to something that everybody despises. Even though it's my passion, I would rather not contribute to the negativity and the hatred that some of these IPs now have with their fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it would come down to what they were looking for.
Sure.
If it was like active involvement, I'm all set. If they commissioned me to do a piece.
No. I'm saying you are actively involved in the season of that show.
I would much rather work D&D.
Sure.
Because honestly, as far as things go for me personally, right? As soon as you start putting parameters on my abilities, my work suffers.
Right.
Incredibly bad. But when I'm allowed to just figure it out, do my thing, be in my space, in my element, right? It's not every day. Not every day is a home run.
Sure.
But that MK logo, right? That's getting a lot of attention.
Lot of love.
Right. It's things like that, right? Like no one's giving me any parameters or anything like that. I'm allowed to create it.
Yep.
And then I'll put it out there. And if they are happy with it, great. No notes.
Right. Right. But to actively have to sit down every day and work on something that totally goes against
I'm
what
not
your
saying no
belief
notes from
would
the
be.
fans, by the way. I'm saying no notes from the executives.
Sure. But I'm just, but that's the thing. It's like if you had to sit there and it's like, okay,
no, it eats your insides up.
And you're saying, hey, all right, I'm here, I'm working on The Witcher. I can't believe it. Okay, what are we going to have Geralt do today? Geralt's not, he's on the side, he's sitting on a rock. Don't worry about him. What you're working on is the mages. Well, yeah, why?
But I want to work on the Geralt shit.
But
well, then get out.
Yeah, well, that's not how we want it to be. But, if you look at the books and you look at the video game, no, fuck that. We don't care about that. We don't care about where it came from. We don't care about its history. We don't care about what the fans and why they love it so much. This is our version of it. This is what we want you to do. This is your dream project. You're working on The Witcher. That's your thing. Here you are.
But it happened with Cavill. Like
sure.
Cavill, this was a dream project with
exactly.
him.
And that's why, and I'm kind of bringing it up where, I look at these and some of these things when they get back to work, right? Some of these writers and look, I'm not saying that the corporations are right or should win. Fuck them.
No, they're wrong. They hurt creativity.
Right.
Period.
But I don't want writers in the room that hate the project they're working on, produce absolute dog shit, and then are getting paid more money to do so. Like that also hurts my soul.
So here's the thing. I'm always going to be anti-corporation.
Sure, absolutely.
I think even the worst writers should be paid more money.
They should be paid a
live.
living wage.
You should be
absolutely.
able to live.
There's no doubt about that.
Now, what hurts me is that because the industry is being gatekept by 4 or 5 companies, these people are like, well, I don't have a choice. I have to do The Witcher because it's The Witcher or nothing.
Right.
So you have someone who doesn't want to be on The Witcher but wants to be in the industry.
Sure.
Who
is going to grab whatever job they can to be in the industry.
So that to me seems wrong.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's the problem. It's you're getting people that just want to. They don't care about the project. They don't care about the property. They care about being in the industry and trying to catapult that to more fame. That I don't appreciate, and I'm never going to abide by that as far as their bargaining goes. Like, again, when one of the writers came out and complained about She-Hulk, I'm like, you have no business being upset about your residual check when you wrote one of the biggest pieces of shit on Disney Plus.
See, I think that's a more nuanced and complicated issue, though, because they're not upset at us over that. They're upset that the corpos are not paying a living wage.
No, but my point is, you should get a good living wage up front.
Right, but as far as residuals go, you should get a good percentage for residuals. But if nobody's watching it, you get nothing.
No, but that's my point. You should get a good
flesh it out.
Right, you should get a good wage up front.
Right, and good
and
residuals.
You should have a good residual
option
in the contract.
Right.
And depending on what you perform, either that's going to be a good payoff or a shitty payoff.
Right, like it and then that way, if you write She-Hulk, you're still going to get
You're still
going to
get a good upfront payment to live.
You'll get a good payday to stay alive.
Right. That's the first key thing is you're going to be able to survive because you got paid well up front.
But nobody's watching it, so you're not going to get
Right, so your residuals are going to be very small because you wrote a shitty show.
So that I just want to clarify that.
Right.
You know, like it's not us saying like, oh, they shouldn't be paid more residuals. Their percentage on residuals should be much higher.
Sure.
But if nobody's watching, you don't get any residuals.
Right. And that's the thing, though. You can't just blindly say I should get paid a shit ton of residuals even though the show is despised. No. You should
write a good show.
Right,
and
you should have the
ability
to get a good amount of residuals, and then it's up to you to actually be able to get that money by the show that you wrote. I
totally agree.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I just want to be clear that it's not us advocating for corporations at all.
No, we want them to pay
the writers fairly.
Right, the writers fairly, the actors fairly. Look.
And as far as residuals
the corporations
go,
have more money than they know what to do with, and fuck them if they don't want to share with the creatives.
It's really just a bad spot to be. Like the thing of it is, right? Not to keep just using The Witcher as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Sapkowski wrote his books, not thinking like, oh, they're going to make movies out of this,
right?
And because there's no parameters. You got what you got.
Right.
But then as soon as they start doing notes and it has to be this way and, you know, we know it was this way in the books, but let's change this, and this. It's so far from the original creative thought, you know, that it's just, I don't know, it feels like a commercial.
Right. And that's the thing. When you're making something that isn't what the fans this is a property. These are books that exist. These are video games that exist. And when you have have read them or played the games and you have a love for it, and then when you go into a show and you're so excited to see it in live action, and then it's nothing like anything that you're familiar with, well, how do you get excited about that? That's not what you went in expecting. And if it's a lot worse than
but here's the thing.
Stuff that you thought.
Before we put this to bed, I put my art out there. So do you.
Yes.
I am absolutely fine with anyone giving me negative criticism.
Sure, it happens. That's going to happen.
But when you don't provide anything constructive,
give constructive criticism.
But here's the thing: when you don't, I write you off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like your comment, you didn't bring anything to the table.
Right.
You know, I gave you an example. So I did that design with, the ninjas in the style of Queen.
Yes.
And I did a redesign of it with the modern day characters, right? The new designs and everything. And I put it up on Reddit and I said, I did this. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think I should make it into a shirt?
Right.
And it got a decent amount of upvotes, and some, people were like, hey, it's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And this one guy just writes, no.
Yeah. And what is that? What does that offer?
Right. But if it's like, no,
yeah, no one hears why.
Right. Just no is just.
Yeah. Then you disregard that and say that's just an asshole being an asshole.
Right.
There's nothing to it.
So I wrote back and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
what response
one word response
can you
gets
give
a one word answer.
Right, exactly.
I'll respond to you, but
sure.
If you only put enough effort into no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay is all you're going to get back. Okay. Well, thanks for responding.
Right.
That didn't mean anything to it. That didn't mean anything to me. It didn't mean anything to you. Like, what was the point of it all?
That's the thing is like the toxicity is it's fine if that's how you want to roll.
Sure.
But what I value is feedback.
Yeah.
I value, if I do a piece, I want to know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and if you didn't like it, what didn't you like? So,
right.
Because I'm going to change.
Let's fix it. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to change myself.
Sure.
If the feedback is good.
Right. Yeah. If I put out a drawing and I get constructive criticisms, hey,
draw the eye like this,
right, or this proportion was off, or this anatomy was off, thank you,
that's worth its weight in
right,
gold,
because I'm looking at it a million times, sometimes it takes a second set of eyes to see it, and then you can fix it going forward. Perfect. That's helpful.
I think what's kind of interesting is that, like, I've noticed that people that actually create, and I'm not talking about, just posting memes or anything like that. I'm talking about either drawing or making videos or, actual creation. They're very interested in engaging, but like, if you're just going to troll and be negative, you're not going to get anything out of those people. They just go, okay, and they move on.
Right. They don't, again, they know what you're trying to do. They know that you're trying to be a troll. And no one's going to respond to you that way because we know what you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes people just want to get into a negative war of words, and there's no value to that.
But the thing is that as someone who creates full time, right, I don't have time to play that game.
Sure.
So if you're not going to give me valuable feedback and you just want to say, oh, it looks like shit, take it down. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no value to that, and those type of responses are not. There's nothing to it. So, anybody that does it, and hopefully no one that listens to this podcast does stuff like that, but there is zero value to the creative on the other end that looks at those comments because we just disregard them.
No, you just make them feel bad. Like it's not
right.
There's either we disregard it or the ones that can't do that feel like shit.
Right. Exactly. And is that really? I mean, ultimately, I think that's your goal. But why would that be your goal?
Right.
What do you get out of that?
But the thing of it is, I'll shit on Disney, but I'll tell you exactly why.
Right. Exactly. We're not saying Disney sucks and then not backing up a million reasons why we feel that way.
I'm not just going to be.
We're not hiding behind it.
I'm not going to be hypercritical and then just shut down over it. I'll spell it out for you.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I don't know. Just a wild. It's a wild ride.
Yep.
Oh, you know what just came out that I want to catch is that it's called The Voyage of the Demeter.
Absolutely.
It looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's great about this movie? Practical effects.
Oh, yeah. And I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I have too. Stephen King just said it's one of the greatest new movies he's seen recently.
Small budget.
Right.
Small budget. That's the way to go.
And it's a story that is well known,
right,
but it's a piece of the story that is not, and that's what's going to make it so exciting because we know a little bit about it in every Dracula movie,
right? But it's a 5-minute, right? It's a chapter,
but a fleshed out movie for in regards to that.
You know what it
awesome.
Is? It's Alien.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Alien. You're stuck on a ship.
Yeah, you're on a ship crossing the ocean.
You can't go anywhere.
Right. And there's a monster on the ship that is killing people.
I am so excited for that.
It looks so good.
That's the thing is that, the reason I keep going back to horror is because they never do big budgets.
No.
They really don't. They're always relatively small. Right, but when you don't do a big budget, the executives have less feedback. So now that they're out of it, the creatives just get to create.
Right. I mean, you look at that Insidious, The Red Door, right? I mean, again, small budget.
Yeah.
This thing's made massive amounts of money.
Yeah,
because
people love it.
Right. Now, again, even if it didn't, it's still, you have such a good chance of making money because the budget is, right.
You can take the risk. You can say, you know what, we can do it this way because worst case scenario is it tanks, but we got 4 or 5 more in the chamber.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a massive money loss because the budget is small.
Right. I don't know. I mean, we're in a weird spot right now. We're in a very weird spot. So I'm curious to see kind of where it all goes. But, with that, let's put this one to bed.
Sounds good.
That's episode 66 of The Corner. Jim, as always.
Yeah.
Love waxing.
Absolutely.
What do you got going on?
I am getting ready to drop chapter 2 of my webcomic Eva.
I saw that.
I saw that, put that out today, so that should be coming, I'm hoping, very soon. If anybody wants to catch up and read chapter 1, go to Webtoons and check out Eva. And again, I dropped a little trailer, so to speak, today, and we're going to get chapter 2 out here very soon.
Awesome. So, all right, guys, you know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations, NH is the Etsy store. We're on all the social platforms. We're posting the Mortal Kombat coasters every day. We post a new one up till release. We're going to be at Granite State Comic Con next month. That's going to, what is that, from the 16th to the 18th?
Mm-hmm.
So that's in Manchester, New Hampshire. If you guys want to come check us out, we're going to have all sorts of goodies.
Yeah. Stop on by.
But what do you guys think? I mean, what does Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman mean to you? How do you feel about sort of the trajectory of these mega corporations versus kind of the little guy, Hollywood gatekeeping, writer strike, things of that nature? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. Catch you on the next one.